Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Chara Bhakti founder Chara Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramasam Pravechana Stotra Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Antakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namachara Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se ko Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Marpur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Marani Ki Jai. Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanande. All glories to Sumadavaris. All glories to Sumadavaris. All glories to Samadhivaris. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Sirmad Bhagvatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, titled Narada's Instructions on Sirmad Bhagvatam for Vyasadeva. Text 1. Sutta vacha atatam sukham asina upasinam brihat devarsi praha viparsim vina panismayan iva sutta vacha atatam sukhamasina upasinam brihat devarsi praha viprasim vina panismayan iva sutta vacha atatam sukhamasina upasinam brihat devarsi praha viprasim vina panismayan iva Madhijis. Sutta vacha atatam sukhamasina upasinam brihatshava devarsi praha viprasim vina panismayan Sutta vacha atatam sukhamasina upasinam brihatshava devarsi praha viprasim vina panismayan iva. Word for word translation. Sutaha, sutta. Uvacha, said. Ata, therefore. Tam, him. Sukham asina, comfortably seated. Upasinam, onto one sitting nearby. Brihat Shrabaha, greatly respected. Devarsi, the great rishi among the gods. Praha, said. Viparsim, onto the rishi among the brahmanas. Vinapani, one who carries a veena in his hand. Smayan iva, apparently smiling. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, thus the sage among the gods, Narada, comfortably seated and apparently smiling, addressed the rishi among the brahmanas, Vedavyas. Purport. Narada was smiling because he well knew the great sage Vedavyas and the cause of his disappointment. As he will explain gradually, Vyasadev's disappointment was due to insufficiency in presenting the science of devotional service. Narada knew the defect, and he was confirmed by the position of Vyas. We'll go to the next verse as well, text 2. Narada vacha I'll just say it. Parasarya mahabhaga bhavata kachidatmana paritusyati sharira atma manasa evava. Translation. Addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Parasara, Narada inquired, "Are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization?" Purport: This was a hint by Narada to Vyasadeva regarding the cause of his despondency. Vyasadeva, as a descendant of Parasara, a greatly powerful sage, had the privilege of having a great parentage, which should not have given Vyasadeva cause for despondency. Being a great son of a great father, he should not have identified the self with the body or the mind. Ordinary men with a poor fund of knowledge can identify the body as self or the mind as self, but Vyasadeva should not have done so. One cannot be cheerful by nature unless one is factually seated in self-realization, which is transcendental to the material body and mind. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurumitam Yena Tasmei Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantigam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Narita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancha Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Visabhanusute Devi Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Bhevcha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you everyone for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class today. So we're just starting a new chapter, chapter 5. Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. So in the last chapter, we saw how we were hearing about Srila Vyasadeva. Once upon a time, he was, the sages, they asked some questions to Sutta Goswami about, when was this Srimad Bhagavatam spoken, and, how was it recited, for what purpose, like that. So in response, Sutta Goswami, he starts describing how once upon a time, Srila Vyasadeva, he was on the bank of River Saraswati, and he was meditating, and in deep contemplation, he could see into the future, into Kali Yuga. And he could see how in the future, people, they'll be engaged in, all different kinds of sinful activities, and they'll be suffering so much. So seeing all this, seeing what's going to happen in Kali Yuga, Vyasadeva, he felt great compassion. And then he starts thinking, what can I do to help, the living entities who are going to be born in the future, in this dark age of Kali Yuga, where everyone's just completely immersed in an ocean of ignorance and passion. So what can I do to help? So, like when Gokulesh Prabhu was here, he was saying, how Vyasadeva, he saw, Kali Yuga is coming, and out of all the things he could have done to help the people being born in Kali Yuga, he chose to write books. So Gokulesh Prabhu was saying how this this preaching or this service of book distribution, the plan of book distribution started long back before. It's not something recently that Prabhupada started or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj started. It started 5,000 years ago with Srila Vyasadeva, because he could see, okay, this is what Kali Yuga is being like, this is what everyone's going to be doing, so how can I help them, And out of everything, he chose to write books. And Gokulesh Prabhu was explaining how we need to understand during that time, 5,000 years ago, there was no printing machines. Everything was just, on dried palm leaves, they would just scribe it in. And that was it, How will one manuscript of Bhagavatam reach, all around the world? What to speak of other countries? You can't even, give that one manuscript of Bhagavatam to even other cities in India. So externally speaking, materially speaking, if you look at it, this is what Vyasadev's solution was. It looks like it's not a very intelligent solution. How is this simple manuscript just going to end up saving the whole world in the future? Well, Gokula's Prabhu was explaining how Vyasadev, he has this misty power to see in the future. So he sees Kali Yuga is coming, he sees what everyone's going to be doing in Kali Yuga, and he also sees that in the future there'll be a personality like Srila Prabhupada. And he also sees in the future how there'll be technology to print books, there'll be technologies to print books on a mass scale. And there'll be, these books will be translated in different languages and will be spread all around the world. So he's able to see this. So seeing all this, he starts writing Srimad Bhagavatam. He starts writing all these shastras. Understanding in the future, someone will come and mass produce these books into different languages and spread it all around the world. So first, we heard in last chapter, first he broke up the one Veda into 4. Originally there was just one Veda. And the reason, again, Bhagavatam explains is that just to make it, the one Veda more easily understandable. So he writes the 4 Vedas. Then after writing the 4 Vedas, he starts writing different Upanishads, the Puranas, 18 Puranas, and even among the Puranas, he writes, out of the 18, 6 are for people in the mode of goodness, 6 for people in the mode of ignorance, 6 for the mode of passion. So like this, he's trying different ways in different books. First, he breaks up, but just breaking up the one Veda into 4, that's a big task in itself. But he doesn't just stop there. He continues writing, 108 Upanishads, 18 Puranas, and even the Puranas, he writes a certain Puranas for different types of people. Then even after that, he's still not satisfied. He still wants to do more to help. So then he starts writing then he writes the Itihasa, like Mahabharata. And the Mahabharata, I'm not sure how many verses, but it's like said to be contain the largest number of verses. So one thing we can learn from this is how, obviously the first point is of compassion, how like Prabhupada writes that the general quality of a Vaishnava is that he feels compassion for those who are not in Krishna consciousness and he tries to help them. So Vasudev, seeing this future, he's doing his best, trying to write these literatures which will save humanity. And the second thing we can learn is that a devotee of Vaishnava, he never thinks that he's done enough service. Like for us, if we're just able to do something little bit, even if it's such a small thing, we think, oh, okay, I've done my bit, now I can relax, take some time off, and then later on I'll do service. But great devotees of Lord, they always have this great thirst or hunger to continue doing more and more service. And they never think that they have served Krishna enough. They always want to do more and more. So we need to try and also cultivate a certain mood. Because Vyasadeva, first he wrote the 4 Vedas, but he didn't stop there. Then again he wrote 108 Upanishads. Then again Puranas. Then again he writes Mahabharata, which is even bigger than all of them. So he's just continually trying to do more and more to help actually. So he's never stopping. But still, even after writing the Mahabharata, which he particularly wrote for, people of less intelligence, which is like, Duja Bandhus, those who are born in the family of Brahmanas, but they don't act like Brahmanas, they act like Shudras, so which is pretty much all of us. So he wrote Mahabharata for us in like a story format, so we can easily, get attracted to the philosophy. But still, he wasn't feeling satisfied. Something was not right, even after writing all these literatures. So then he's contemplating, and then finally, just in the last few verses of the last chapter, text 31, just like the third last verse of the last chapter, Vyasadeva comes to realization. This may be because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to the perfect beings and to the infallible Lord. Just when he has that realization, in the next text is explained that, as mentioned before, Narada reached the cottage of Krishna Dwapara Vyas on the banks of Saraswati, just as Vyasadeva was regretting his defects. So from this, again, we can learn a couple of different things. First thing, as like Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was mentioning yesterday, of this transcendental coincidence that Vyasadeva, he's just going through his problem. He's just finished writing all these different scriptures and he's dissatisfied and he's thinking, what am I doing wrong? What can I do? Something I'm doing wrong. Just when he's thinking like this, at that exact moment, Narada Muni just happens to come by, just at that exact moment. So, and this same thing we'll see later on in the first canto, how Maharaj Parikshit, he gets cursed, and then, then he renounces his family, and I only have like 7 days left, so let me just totally absorb myself in devotional service. He goes to the bank of the Ganges or Yamuna, and then he starts, and then different sages and personalities come from all around the universe to see Maharaj Parikshit, because he's such a great, exalted, pure devotee of the Lord. And then Maharaj Parikshit asks, what is the most important thing I should do now? I have 7 days to left. What should I do? What should be my priority? How should I engage myself in these 7 days just before I pass away? And among all those different, sages, rishis, and, different demigods and kings assembled there, everyone has their own opinion. They can't come to an agreement of what he should do. And just at that exact moment where everyone is putting different options to Maharaj Parikshit, at that exact moment is mentioned, Sukadeva Goswami just happens to appear. And again, Prabhupada, he explains in his purport that this is all by the super soul in the heart. The super soul in the heart led Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. Because Maharaj Parikshit, he doesn't have, there's no internet, GPS, nothing like that back in those days. So how does he know where exactly Maharaj Parikshit is? And even though he might know Maharaj Parikshit's address, how can he just happen to appear at that exact moment when Maharaj Parikshit is inquiring? So this is, again, another transcendental coincidence. Same thing as we see here. We also just in dilemma, he doesn't know what he's doing wrong. At that exact moment, Narada Muni appears. Same thing with Maharaj Parikshit. Just when he's asking the question, what should I do? Sukadeva Goswami exactly happens to appear. So this miraculous coincidence is done by the super soul in the heart. So, and this miracle, I was thinking that we can also experience actually. Especially you see this when we go out and distribute books. We especially see this miracle, this transcendental coincidence, how Krishna, as a super soul, he'll lead two souls together. Like one soul will be like sincerely searching after the absolute truth, and the other soul, Krishna, would lead him just to happen to meet him at the exact time. So just like on book distribution, like we go out, and then, there's like so many people out there. And then you meet people, when you approach them, they'll be like, oh, why did you pick me? Why did you pick me? You don't know, I just started doing meditation, I was getting into this, and now you approach me. How did you know I was interested in it? Why did you give me this book? And some other people you approach, and they'll be like, oh man, I can't believe that you approached me today. I was having such a bad day. I've been having such a difficult time in my life, and now you came and you gave me these amazing books. Thank you so much. Just recently, I got some emails for Vijay Das Prabhu ISKCON book distribution minister. He has like a email list, and in some of the Sankirtan stories there, like one devotee from London, he was sharing how he went door knocking in London, and then one house he knocked on, and no one was responding. And then he kept knocking on the super soul inside his heart. Usually if no one responds, you just go to the next door. You don't keep knocking, otherwise you annoy if someone's in there. But somehow the super soul in his heart was telling him, no, keep knocking, someone is in there. So he kept knocking, but still no one was coming. Then after some time of knocking, he started hearing someone swearing back at him, go away, I'm not interested, go away. But still, for some reason, he just kept knocking. The super soul was inspiring him. Then finally, the guy came out. And then he was starting in a very angry mood. And then he was saying, why did you, go away, why are you annoying me? I don't want anything, what are you doing? And then the guy explained, I'm from the Hare Krishna temple nearby, and we have these wonderful books, Bhagavad Gita, this and this. And then the guy just breaks down, he starts crying. And then he explains to the book distributor that actually, just now I was about to commit suicide. That's why I was telling you to go away. I've been having such a crazy time in my life, and then you came. And now you've given me these wonderful books. So this devotee was sharing his realization how books, they save people's life, literally. So some people, like exactly on the day they commit suicide, then book distributor comes. Some people, maybe in the future they're thinking, because mature life is so distressful, threefold miseries. And then just recently I received another email. This one is in Mexico. Again, one book distributor, he was having a very tough day, and then randomly he meets one person, and this one person, again, he breaks down. Oh, it's a she breaks down. And then she again explains the same thing. that I've been having such a tough time in my life, and I was just thinking of committing suicide today. But then you came and gave me these books. So if you think about it, like analyze it, there's like when we go out there in the city or any suburb, there's like hundreds and thousands of people out there, right? What is the chance or probability that that exact person who's going through a tough time in his life, the exact person who is searching for answers, who is searching for some general spiritual path, would just come and happen to meet right past you? You know, it's like 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000, right? We stand there in the city and, you know, like maybe we're facing this way and the person who's, you know, searching for the truth, he walks the other way, you know? Or if he comes just 2 minutes late, 5 minutes late, or walks in a different direction, takes a different route, he'll just miss us. But Krishna knows exactly, you know, who are the sincere souls. And as a super soul in their hearts, Krishna directs them at exactly the right time, in the right direction to meet the Sankirtan devotee. You know, Krishna knows, okay, this Sankirtan devotee will be here, you know, from this time to this time. This time he'll take a break, so I won't send him just during this time. During this time, I'll make this fallen soul to come and approach him. So just as we're seeing this miracle in Bhagavatam, that just when Vyasadeva was feeling this despondency, this dissatisfaction, just at that moment, Narad Muni appears by the super soul. The super soul Narad Muni sends Narad Muni at the exact moment. And just as we see Sukadeva Goswami, he comes just at the exact moment when Maharaj Parisa is inquiring, what should I do in the next 7 days? Same way, we see the same miracle happening when we go out on Sankirtan, that how Krishna as a super soul is leading different sincere souls towards us. How Krishna is using us as an instrument to reach out to fallen conditioned souls. So the glory of us, our glory is not in distributing books, our glory is in just going out there. Because if we just go out there and put ourselves on the street, then Krishna can work his magic. The books that go out, that's not us, that's just the super soul, you know. Krishna is, as a super soul, he's sending favorable people to us and making them take books. So any books to distribute, we need to understand that that's actually Krishna who's doing it. He's doing it as a super soul. But our credit, our glory is that we just go out there and participate. We go out there and put ourselves as the instrument to be used by Krishna. Because unless we go out there, how will Krishna help them, you know? Like out there, there's like so many souls who are searching after absolute truth, so many souls going through, you know, very troubling, distressful situation. But unless we go out there, how will Krishna connect them, you know, with Krishna consciousness? But if we go out there, you know, to different locations, Town Hall, Parramatta, Burwood, then Krishna is okay. So there's some Sankirtan devotees there, some Sankirtan devotees there, some Sankirtan devotees in this area. These are the souls who are searching after absolute truth. Now we'll inspire them from within the heart to walk in that direction during this time of the day, so they come in contact with Sankirtan devotee. And then they advance further spiritually. But unless the Sankirtan devotees are stationed there in different locations, how will Krishna send these guys? He can't just randomly send them to the temple, you know. No one knows about, there's a temple here in North Sydney, Hare Krishna temple. But if we go out there to the main busy areas all over Sydney, then we make the work of the super soul a lot easier. And this is the, you know, Prabhupada explains that Krishna, he is very compassionate he feels great compassion to the fallen conditioned souls. And when Krishna, he sees Jiva also developing the same compassion and also trying to help him, then Krishna is very pleased with him. So this way we can see, you know, the same miracle that we're seeing here, we can personally experience the same miracle in our lives. If we go out there and preach, if we go out there and distribute books, every day, every book distributor, he experiences this thing. Every day he goes out on Sankirtan. So, okay, so then finally we come to today's verse, text 1, we're hearing how, okay, thus the sage among the gods, Narada, comfortably seated and apparently smiling, addressed the rishi among the brahmanas, Vedavyas. So, from this also we see how Bhagavatam is like no ordinary literature. Like other books, if you look, there's like, if you go to the library, there's like fiction and non-fiction. Fiction books is just someone's mental speculation. It's not even real. And non-fiction, you know, it will be maybe a autobiography of a great cricket player, autobiography of Sachin Tendulkar, autobiography of some great politician, you know, history of Japan or something like that, you know. Just some story of some mundane man, in non-fiction section, or some story of, per a country or per a certain culture, something like that. But here in Bhagavatam, who are we hearing about? We're not hearing of any two ordinary persons. We're hearing of Devarsi Narada. Devarsi is the great sage among the gods. So the personality who's actually the spiritual master of all the demigods and all the higher planetary systems. We're hearing about him, and we're hearing of Vyasadeva. And who's Vyasadeva? Vyasadeva, the word is Viprasim, or the Rishi among the Brahmanas. So we're hearing a conversation between the personality who is the spiritual master of all the devatas. So on all the higher planetary systems, they're all the devatas, higher living entities. And Narad Muni, he's the spiritual master of all of them. So that's one personality we're hearing about. On the second hand, we're hearing about Vyasadeva. And who is he? He's the Viprasim. He's the Rishi among the Brahmanas. He's the spiritual master of all the Brahmanas. So a conversation is taking place between these two amazing personalities. So the significance of this is so mind-blowing actually. It's it will make universal headlines, If you have, we have Channel 7 News, they just put, news for whatever happens in local Sydney. But this is news, universal news. The sage of among the gods and the sage among the Brahmanas, they're now going to come and talk together. So this Bhagavatam is from this we can see no other literature anywhere can compare with Bhagavatam. All the books in the libraries, all the books, you see in Dimox or any other bookstore, nothing can come and compete with Bhagavatam. So we need to understand this and appreciate this when we go on Sankirtan. Like Navinirad Prabhu says, the more we are convinced that we are giving people the highest treasure, the more we're convinced that this is the greatest thing we're giving to someone, the more we'll be able to reach out to other souls. Others, if we ourselves have doubts, or this is just some religious book, or people won't be interested, why am I doing this, or people won't understand. If we have these doubts, then naturally people can sense that, and we won't be so efficient. But the more one is convinced, more one has faith that this is the topmost thing, this is the actual thing that people need. This will actually save people's lives. The more one is convinced, the more he can reach out to other souls. That's why Srila Prabhupada, he was able to do so much. Prabhupada explained that first, Prabhupada wasn't the first disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj who went out to the West to preach. Before that, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj has sent some disciples, some sannyasi disciples to London or England. And they went there, but they couldn't do much, hardly anything, no effect of their preaching. But when Prabhupada went out, instantly, in just a couple of years, Prabhupada established more than 108 temples all around the world. People from every single country, every single city all around the world were chanting Hare Krishna. One temple in every single city, that's so amazing, mind-blowing. So you compare that, Prabhupada, to the other disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. What was the difference? Prabhupada saying that because he had that faith in the holy name. He had the faith in the order of his Guru Maharaj, He had that faith in Bhakti Vinod Thakur's prediction, Like Prabhupada was explaining that, when his god brothers, they would, the point would come up, how Bhakti Vinod Thakur and the previous Acharya, they say how one day, people from all around the world, they will come to Mayapur. People from, America, England, France, everyone will come and they all sing and chant together. They would hear this and they would just think it's like some metaphor, Like it's just some nice story, some nice imagination to have in their mind. They wouldn't believe it as actual fact. But Prabhupada, when he would hear things like this, he had that absolute faith. Yes, the acharyas have said this, it will happen. And because Prabhupada had that, that's intense faith in the words of the previous acharyas, intense faith in the potency of Srimad Bhagavatam, potency of the holy name, he was able to impact the lives of so many countless souls. And even today, Prabhupada is impacting the lives of so many souls just through his books. And Prabhupada says that for the rest of this golden age, 10,000 years, his books will be the standard textbooks for humanity. So we need to also try and cultivate that same faith. And faith you get by someone who has that faith. So by hearing more about Bhagavatam from devotees, by hearing more from Prabhupada, then naturally, their faith rubs up on us. And we can also become strong and have the inspiration also. And then At the, yes, so sharing Krishna's pastime as bhakti yoga. Yeah. Another thing we can learn is how, yes, approaching Guru. So, Vyasadev's Guru is Narad Muni. And we see that in the previous chapter, actually Vyasadeva, he himself figured it out. He himself figured out why he was dissatisfied. Because in the last chapter he's saying, this may be because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to perfect beings and to the infallible Lord. But still in this chapter, he still puts himself in a humble position and he still inquires from Narad Muni that I'm going through this tough time, I'm not feeling satisfied, what am I doing wrong? So from this we can learn, like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, initially in the first chapter, it describes about, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is offering respectful obeisances onto, different spiritual masters. And the first verse, he says, one day Gurun. The plural word is used. It's not, I offer my respectful obeisances to my spiritual master. He's saying, to my spiritual masters. So Prabhupada, he highlights this. And he says that every devotee doesn't just have one guru, he has many gurus. So who are those many gurus? There's one Chaitya Guru, which is the super soul in the heart. The super soul personally guides us from within. And the second is our initiating guru, our Diksha Guru. And then there's many, many Shiksha Gurus we have. And Shiksha Gurus, one can have as many as they could. So that way one has many, many different spiritual masters. So in the previous verse, when Vyasadeva gets this realization that maybe it's because I didn't fully broadcast devotional service, that was told to him by his Chaitya Guru, by the super soul within his heart. And then in this chapter, that same thing that was told to him by the Chaitya Guru is now going to be told to him by his Diksha or Shiksha Guru, Narad Muni. Same thing Narad Muni will say as well. So whatever the Chaitya Guru says, like in that chapter of CC, first chapter, Prabhupada explains, or Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he explains how the Guru in the heart and the Guru outside, the internal and external Guru, they should be considered as non-different. They should be considered as one. And there's one verse he quotes, Acharya Mam Vijaniyan. Okay, it starts with that verse, I forgot. It starts like that. So in that verse, Krishna is saying to Uddhava that the Acharya should be considered as non-different from me. One shouldn't envy the spiritual master. One shouldn't consider him as an ordinary living entity. And the spiritual master should be considered the representative or like the embodiment of all the demigods, like that. And then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he quotes another verse from 11th canto, explaining how, I offer my respectful obeisance unto Krishna, the Supreme Lord, who is so compassionate, who is so merciful, that just for the deliverance of the fallen conditioned soul, he manifests himself as both the Chaitya Guru and the Guru outside. So, but one thing we should understand is that the Guru which is in our heart, the Chaitya Guru, he only talks or he only gives guidance to those who are like pure in the heart. Okay? So we can't just, say that whatever thoughts and things that are coming to our mind, that's, it's my Chaitya Guru in my heart, Krishna from my heart is telling me, so that's why I'm doing it. No. It's actually Krishna, he only speaks as the Chaitya Guru to those who are pure souls. So like one time, like some disciple Prabhupada, they asked him this question. Like this question, I'm pretty sure like all of us have this question, that, Prabhupada, how do we know that if Krishna is if the voice inside my heart or in my mind is Krishna or is it just my mind? And then Prabhupada, he was like a bit heavy, he was chastising. Haven't you read Bhagavad Gita? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Tesam sarata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurukam dadami buddhi yogantam yenamam upayantite. To only those who are constantly, Tesam, satata means like constantly, only those who are constantly engaged in bhakti, only those who are constantly engaged in serving me with priti, with love and devotion. Only to them I give the understanding from within the heart, by which they can come back to me. So Vyasadeva, he ticks these boxes. He's a liberated soul. He's a pure devoted Lord. He's a Sakta-Vaisha avatar. So that's why, Krishna within his heart, he's giving him guidance as a Chaitya Guru. That, okay, it's because you haven't properly glorified devotional service. But we can't say the same thing for us, So that's why, for us, it's more important that we, take guidance from either a Diksha Guru or the Shiksha Gurus around us, or devotees around us. Otherwise, because we're not on that pure platform, we need to take guidance externally from the Gurus around us. Only when we reach, pure devotional states, then only can we get guidance from within. And Vyasadeva, even though he's a pure soul, even though he gets guidance from Krishna within, still he's taking the humble position to show us how a devotee should take shelter of a Guru, So even this chapter, even though he already knows the answer, still he's asking Narad Muni, what am I doing wrong? Why am I still not feeling satisfied? Same thing we see in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, how he takes shelter of Krishna. And in second verse, it's mentioned here, addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Parasara, Narada inquired, are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization? So Prabhupada writes that here, Narad Muni is giving a hint to Vyasadeva for the reason for his despondency. So later on, I'll just read from one other purport. Later on, Prabhupada, he sums it up. The root cause of the despondency of Vyasadeva was his deliberate avoidance of glorifying the Lord in his various editions of the Puranas. He was certainly, as a matter of course, given descriptions of the glories of the Lord, but not as many given to religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation. These four items are far inferior to engagement in devotion to the Lord. Sri Vyasadeva, as the authorized scholar, knew very well this difference, and still, instead of giving more importance to the better type of engagement, namely devotional service to the Lord, he had more or less improperly used his valuable time. Thus, he was despondent. So the reason Prabhupada explains, or it will be explained in Bhagavatam, is because in all these other texts, he had glorified the Lord, he had talked about devotional service, but there weren't as many verses about bhakti as there were about dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. And even though he knew these are all inferior and these can't lead to Krishna prem, still he gave more verses regarding this rather than to devotional service. And that's why he was dissatisfied. And also my Guru Maharaj, he says, in a lecture in this theme of Bhagavatam, he says that from this chapter we can learn how whenever we are, we do devotional service, and most of the times we feel happy, and blissful, and we feel very satisfied. But sometimes we do devotional service and we're not feeling happy, something is wrong. We feel that dissatisfaction, it's inside our heart. So whenever that feeling comes of dissatisfaction when we're engaged in devotional service, we need to understand that it's because we're not doing our service properly. There's something we're doing wrong in our service. So immediately we need to question and be introspective, what exactly is it I'm doing wrong in my service? And it could be any service, either cooking, cleaning, preaching, whatever service could be. If we're doing a service and we're not feeling happy, it's because we're not doing something right in that service. So it's either we can be introspective and figure out, what is I'm doing wrong? Okay, maybe I'm not properly dealing with the devotees around me who are engaged in that service. Maybe I'm getting too proud while I'm doing in the service. Something like that. We need to be introspective. Or even better is to ask our gurus around us, ask our Shiksha Gurus, I'm doing this service, but I'm not feeling satisfied. What do you think could be the reason? Do you see me doing anything wrong? And then they can point out the faults in us, Same thing we're seeing here with Vyasadeva. The reason Vyasadeva wasn't feeling satisfied, because he didn't properly do devotional service. Him doing properly devotional is to just write a text only about pure devotional service. So that only will elevate people to Krishna Prema. So he asked Narad Muni, and Narad Muni explains, okay, this is what you were doing wrong. So in the same way, whenever we come across any difficulties in our spiritual life, we need to take shelter of devotees around us, of senior devotees. Take their guidance. Because we're not at that stage of, Tesam Sarta Yuktanam. We're not at that stage where the Chaitya Guru can directly guide us. That's why we need devotees around us to help us, to protect us. Otherwise, our situation will be kind of like, Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj, he was at the stage of bhava, but still he fell down. And the reason he fell down was because he didn't have any guru around him. He didn't have any shiksha gurus around him. He didn't have the association of any devotees. So a deer comes, and in his mind, like in Bhagavatam, it's very amazing, Bhagavatam is so amazing that, like in ordinary, like say autobiography of, a biography of some person, or you're talking about a life of some person. They can say the activities of what a person did, but they can't say what a person was thinking in their mind. No one can read another person's mind, right? They can't say, okay, Sachin Tendulkar, he was thinking like this, or this person, he was thinking like this person, these are the thoughts that were going in his mind. No one can know what another person's thinking. But in Bhagavatam, not only do you get a recount of the activities of different personalities of the universe, but you also get a recount of what they were thinking in the mind. So in 5th canto, all the different thoughts that were going through Bharat Maharaj's mind is all explained as well. So that's like really amazing. So Bharat Maharaj, in his mind, he's justifying his action. He's thinking that this deer, it's a helpless creature. He has no one to protect him. And it's the duty of a person that when someone helpless comes to you, then you have to help him. Like for a Kshatriya, if someone comes to him for help, it's his duty to help him. It's his dharma to help him and not to reject him. So like this, he was justifying his affection for the deer. And sometimes he'll be chanting, engaged in devotional service, and the deer will come and probe him, And then, even though his spirituals are more important, still he'll justify by saying, yes, this bhakti is important, but what is the use of my bhakti if I can't help a helpless soul like this deer? So like this, he would justify with his mind whatever he's doing. So in the same way, if we don't have devotees around us, who we can take guidance from, then whatever our mind says, we'll just take it, And then we'll take a detour, like how Bharat Maharaj did. We'll just think, yeah, this is actually not my mind, this is Krishna from within my heart telling me, this and this. It sounds right, yeah, this is logical. We'll just justify what we're doing. But if we have devotees around, then they can point out the faults. So this incident of Bharat Maharaj puts that, very important point, how at no point should we think that we're beyond devotee association. Even if we're at the age of bhava, still we need the Sangha of devotees. Otherwise we'll fall down. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even says that even if one has attained Krishna Prema, he's attained the goal of life, still he needs association of devotees. So at no stage can we say, okay, I don't need devotee Sangha. We always need devotee Sangha. And also in CC, Rupa Goswami, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his instructions to Rupa Goswami, he explains about the bhakti tree. How the seed is planted and the tree grows and the many weeds come out. And one very important point Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains is that sometimes the weeds, one can't see the weeds. Like the weeds, they look like flowers. Sometimes, a tree will grow or a plant will grow and there'll be flowers and different leaves and there'll be weeds growing along with it. But sometimes you can't actually see the weeds. The weeds, they camouflage with the actual plant itself. And one thinks the weed is just part of the plant. So in the same way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains, many of us, we all have different anarthas. Some anarthas we can immediately see, okay, this one I'm doing wrong. Okay, I get very angry very easily, or I'm very lazy. Some anarthas we can immediately pick out in our own self by introspection. But some anarthas we can't pick out ourselves. Some anarthas we think it's okay, it's just part of me. We think it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly normal, actually, to have this thing. We just can't see. Just like those particular weeds which are around a plant, it just camouflages with the other plant, and one can't see as a weed. But the expert gardener, he can see those weeds, which ordinary person can't. So same way Prabhupada explains, the spiritual master, he's able to point out those weeds which we can't see ourselves. Those weeds which we think is just part of us, which we think is normal. And Bharat Maharaj's problem was, he didn't have that spiritual master to point out this weed of him developing too much affection for the deer. And because he didn't have that, he couldn't figure out that weed himself. And that's why, he had to take another birth again. So that's why it's very important that we constantly stay in the association of devotees, constantly take guidance from different devotees. And just as Vyasadeva is doing, even though he's a liberated soul, still he's taking guidance from Narad Muni of how he can better do his devotional service. Okay, I'll stop here. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jai Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaur Pramanande.